So we decided to turn around, and then we were like, all right, let's rest. Let's just take 20 minutes, and then we'll go down. And my buddy that was at the time doing the worst, under his breath, he was just like panting super hard. It's so hard to breathe that high. It's insane.
God, I bet.
And he's just like, let's fucking do it. And that's all I needed. And I was like, all right, let's go. This is the butterfly effect.
Hello, outsiders. Today I am hiking in Tonto National Forest outside of Phoenix in Arizona, and I am introducing this interview with my old roommate and one of my good friends and awesome all-around person, Chris Johnson, and I hope you enjoy it. He has hiked and summited Mount Whitney, done a lot of traveling. He's a big surfer. He loves the outdoors. So I decided to interview him and bring it to you. So I hope you enjoy. Yay! And if you are enjoying, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you. Today I am with my old roommate slash very good friend, Chris Johnson. Haven't seen him in a really long time. And we were just shooting the shit last night and telling stories, and he has some pretty epic stories. So
I do have epic stories.
yeah, he does. One thing that he did. What year did you summit Mount Whitney?
I summited Mount Whitney in June of 2019. It was a heavy snow year going into 2019, the early season. So we got our permits, one-day permits, as opposed to the overnight. So we had to do it in a single day. That's totally doable in the summer months where there's very little snow, and you can take the route known as like the switchback route. In the winter, like end of winter, it gets a little tricky. You're carrying more weight, you have more gear. Obviously, it's colder. You need ice axe, crampon, all that stuff. And you have to deal with elevation, obviously. So all of that in combination made for a very strenuous excursion. We were a group of 9, and 3 of us made it to the top, myself included. It was definitely a struggle, but it was probably one of the most epic things I've done. Definitely the hardest I've ever pushed myself physically and mentally. So yeah, coming out of that, I was to the point of exhaustion where I was feverish at the end. It was pretty insane.
Yeah,
but
you said that altitude sickness is like a pretty big thing.
Yeah,
when you're going up there.
Yeah, so obviously we're at the ocean right now. We're at the beach right by my house, and so we're at 0 feet. So we're going up to about 14,000. I think it's like 505 feet is the summit of Mount Whitney, highest point in the contiguous United States. It's a lot of change. So you're supposed to acclimate. I think the standard acclimation rate is something like 2,000 feet per day, but you can usually push it way further than that. So we're basically driving from 0 up to the Whitney portal, which is where you park your car and start. It's around 8,000 feet, I believe. And we basically did like an overnight and just camped there for one night, let our body kind of adjust, lay low, and that was it. And then we started the hike that night at 9 p.m. The group of 9, carrying probably way too much weight. And I ended up bringing, I brought my, I'm like a, amateur photographer. So I brought my big heavy DSLR camera.
Did you use it?
I didn't. I took one shot. And this is probably one of the most scenic viewpoints I'll ever see in my life. And I literally was this describes the trip in a nutshell. It's that I was too exhausted to take a photo.
Wow.
So luckily I got a bunch with my smartphone, which is great. But man, it was, and so I basically carried 8 pounds of camera equipment for absolutely nothing. So yeah, that was difficult.
And you said that it took 24 hours total?
Yeah, so we started at 9 p.m. in the dark. Everyone's got their headlamps on. It wasn't too cold when we started. It was probably in the high 40s.
Okay.
And once you get moving, you warm up pretty fast. When you stop, you cool down, but you layer up and it's fine. So you start with the switchbacks, the initial switchbacks, which are pretty shitty. It's literally like, I don't even know, maybe like 50 to 100 switchbacks. Pretty boring, but like at that point you're kind of stoked on the climb, so you're talking and having a good time. It goes by quick. We're actually moving pretty fast as a big group. Fitness levels kind of varied, but we're all pretty like outdoorsy people. Most of us like rock climb together. And there was a couple like significant others that I was a little initially like, oh man, are they gonna make it? I don't know. Actually did pretty well.
Hey.
So yeah, we like hiked in the dark, and the like starting point of like the snow where you like think about having to use like crampons was probably like, I don't know, halfway to the very top. So in like 6-7 hours, that's when we started hitting like big patches of snow to where we actually needed to like think about putting some, and you want to like limit the amount of times you got to put them on because it takes time, and you're kind of on a race against the clock the whole time.
Right, you're saying that.
Yeah, because the section where the heart of the crux of the whole climb was right at so you reach trail camp, which is essentially base camp of Mount Whitney. Which is about 10 hours into the hike. And that's where you either take the switchbacks, which are covered in snow that time of the season with that much snow.
Yeah.
So they were closed. The other option is you climb what's called the chute, which is basically like a vertical face. And you have to use ice axe, crampon, and it's like, I think it took us something like 4 hours to do. And it looks big. It doesn't look like it would take that long, but because of how steep it is, I think there's some sections that are like a legit 80-degree incline. Feels like you're just going straight up into nowhere. And you want to get to the start of the chute before the sun hits it, because you want to climb in like icy conditions, so your gear works. It sticks in the snow. If it starts to melt, you start to slip, and you might not even be able to go because you might be just sliding down. So the whole time it's like, oh, let's go. Oh, great view. It doesn't matter. Just keep going. And so we took some breaks, but not a lot. It was like, every time we sat down, it's like, all right, we got like 10 minutes and we got to go. But it was gorgeous. Like the whole valley, like you're basically hiking in between two ridge lines for the first, until you get to trail camp. So it's like, the end of the Sierras ends where Mount Whitney is, and then it goes into desert. So the ends of those mountains are like end in like ridge lines that trickle down to the desert floor. So you're kind of like going into like a little valley in between these two ridges, and it's really pretty. Tons of snow. All the water's like frozen over, really like clean water. So really pretty the whole time, and you can kind of see like there was enough stars to where it was bright enough to see really well. And then the sunrise was probably the most epic sunrise I've ever seen, and it was right when you got to trail camp, and it was bittersweet because you knew, fuck, the sun's gonna come up, we gotta get our ass moving. But it was so gorgeous. It was like this blood orange moon like rising, and then the sun come up, and it's as soon as it like crosses that threshold, it goes from like complete blackness to like bam, full on like amphitheater lighting. Like it lights up this whole little valley in front of Whitney. So pretty. And yeah, then we started like the climb, but I think we had already lost like 3 or 4 people at that point to altitude sickness and exhaustion before we got to trail camp. It was at trail camp where I started getting it pretty bad. Like I was getting pretty severe migraines, feeling pretty exhausted, and then the mental struggle of like thinking you have so much more to go, so much altitude to climb. You start to lose your appetite, so the food, like you're thinking about just like you're burning so many calories. You need to like, you're supposed to be eating to avoid altitude sickness or mitigate the effects. You want to be eating like 100 calories every like 30 minutes or so, and drinking water in slow increments.
Every 30 minutes?
Yeah, so you want to eat little bits very often to sustain, like, so you don't have this flash of energy and then have to digest. So you want to eat a lot of carbohydrates and do it frequently in small increments, and that apparently helps reduce the effects. So who knows if it does or not. But anyway, so my food just like didn't sound good to me, so it was really hard to stomach some things, and just brought the wrong kind of food, to be honest. Like dry, chewy food wasn't a good choice. And yeah, so we geared up and like put our crampons on and just started that insane like climb to the top, and we got like, I don't know, we got like maybe 100 feet up the base of the chute, and then the sun hit us, and it was still icy for a while. It takes a while for it to heat up, but it got really hot and really bright. So now you're getting like, you have a headache already.
Yeah.
So like the sun's like going through the side of your glasses, and it's just like giving you more of a headache, and it was tough. And then it was like that for like, I think 4 hours it took to get to the top. And in that time frame, we lost like 2 more people. And then one of them was like my buddy who, pretty experienced mountaineer, definitely the most experienced in the group, is the only one with any experience using like an axe and crampons, which made me feel like a lot better that he was like, he's done some stuff in like Vancouver and some pretty cool stuff. So, so he made me feel a lot more comfortable, and him and I were like buddies because everyone buddied up. And we were cruising the whole time, and we were like ahead of the pack, and I was super bummed that he had to bail because he just got sick and couldn't. He had to stop and rest, and I was like, damn, he was doing good. He just got unlucky. And he had also spent the entire day prior to us starting Whitney doing some pretty insane rock climbing routes with some pretty famous climber in that area. Apparently he just met randomly because he got there a day early, so I think he was like extra exerted. I think that added to it. But anyway, so lost him.
Lost a buddy.
And then it was like, I think it was 3, 4, 5 of us left, and I made it to the top first, and I basically just collapsed. You look over the edge, and this is basically like, it's like, I think it's at like 13,000, maybe a little higher feet.
That's what I was gonna ask.
You get to the top of this ridge basically, and now you can see the complete picture of what the Sierras looks like, and it's just one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. I literally like cried, like tearing up, both because I was physically exerted.
You just
to
pushed
the point,
yourself so hard.
so pushed, and just so happy, so gorgeous, and basically just collapsed and laid in a little ball and waited for my friends to come up one by one, and then find out that we still have like another 1,500 feet to climb and another like, I think it's like 1.5 miles. I thought that was the crux, but it got way harder, and we decided to keep going. It was getting late in the day, which was another risk. You don't want to be descending in the dark. Obviously, you definitely don't want to go down the chute when it's icy and cold, because you have to like, glissade down it, which is basically sliding on your butt and using your ice axe as a brake. And if it's icy, it's hard for that ice axe to stick. Things get a little more slick. If you get going too fast, you can seriously injure yourself. So that was a risk, obviously, with little experience in the group. I was like, fuck, I don't want to be stuck up here by myself, and I felt like a little bit responsible for the remaining crew members, so I didn't want to push them past where they felt comfortable, but I did.
You wanted to make it.
I wanted to make it. I was determined. So we kept going, and then 2 of my other friends, they backed out because they just were not. They were done. They were completely done. And then it was 3 of us left. 2 of my buddies one of my buddies was doing really bad. The other was like, he was doing okay, but he was like, mentally I could tell. He's like, dude, why are we still pushing? Because there was other people on the trail that were turning around because they're saying it's too late to summit. It's too late, turn around. There's still a few people pressing on though, so we, kept going, and then it reached a point to where we actually like decided to turn around. We're like, we could see the summit. It was like literally within arm's reach. Maybe like another 30 minutes. We could just like basically like a little bit more hiking, and then you put on your ice axe and cramp on for the last time and do this little snow ascent, and then you're there. And we're like, dude, it's right there. It's right there. But I was hurting bad. We were all hurting bad.
Right.
But it was like every time you took a rest, you felt just like a little bit better. So you're like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. And
it was right there.
It was right there. But, I was like, you know what, guys? Fuck it. Let's go back. It doesn't mean anything. To get to the top of the mountain means literally nothing.
Right.
Like, it doesn't, whether I'm here or,
I mean, you made it that
couple
far
hundred feet
already.
higher, whatever. But it does mean something.
For sure.
It does. It means something.
Yeah. It's like the little bell at the top when you're like, you gotta,
It was the thing that kept me going was the thought that It's really hard to get permits.
Really? What
Yeah.
was like that process?
I actually didn't do it. And that's the
Oh,
reason
yeah.
my friend did it, and she got like 12 single day permits, and which is great. But for a while, I didn't think this trip was going to happen because she got early permits, which is
Okay.
probably the reason she got them, because no one really wanted them because they were way too early in the season. Still a lot of snow, and they're single day. So, but we were like, well, let's just get them and give it a shot. But leading up to the event, there was one death. A couple weeks prior, there was a couple other injuries and rescues. So I was like, man, this is I don't know. The conditions might be pretty bad. So we just played it week by week, and we decided to go because I had another friend that actually had summited the week prior to us. So he was like, you're fine, just don't be dumb, and you're good. Yeah. So I probably would have bailed if he hadn't gone first. But he did the overnight, so he didn't have to do it in a day, which is nice for him. So, so we decided to turn around, and then we were like, all right, let's rest. Let's just take 20 minutes, and then we'll go down. And my buddy that was at the time doing the worst, under his breath, he was just panting super hard. It's so hard to breathe that high. It's insane.
God, I bet.
And he's just like, let's fucking do it. And that's all I needed. And I was like, all right, let's go. And yeah, we strapped up and we made it to the top. And there was a small group of people up there. Everyone was just basking in the glory of what we just did and taking in the fucking gorgeous view. Is insane. It was so much snow. It made for such a prettier picture that I didn't take. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then you realize you got to go all the way back down. So we did. We ended up running out of water. So the fun wasn't over. We ran out of water, approaching the summit. So I was starting to get really thirsty. The back ridge of Whitney is completely exposed. It's basically a single track little trail on a ridge. The sun is just in the later part of the day. The sun just beams down directly on you. There's no shade. So super thirsty. Trying to move fast because I want to get to the chute. I don't want to be the last one going down the chute, so I'm trying to hustle. And it took us 2 hours to get back to the chute, and then we got there, and it was looking at imagine being on the tallest peak in the States, and then looking through a 6-foot tall wall bobsled chute. That's what I was looking at. And thinking you're supposed to just crawl into this little tunnel that looks like a straight drop, because the top part of the chute is literally just straight vertical. So you can't see down unless you actually start climbing down. And you're supposed to just crawl in there and hope to be able to stop. Not knowing how to do, not even knowing.
And this is your first time?
First time even using an ice axe to glissade and break. And it's called self-arresting. You basically use the butt of the axe to slow down, and then if you go too fast, you have to roll over and put the point of the axe in the snow and put all your body weight on it. And I was I'm thinking, well, fuck, this chute is barely wide enough to fit my body, and I'm wearing a big backpack. What if I can't turn over? What if I can't do the self-arrest? Am I just gonna keep going forever and then I don't know, break a leg or hit the guy in front of me or whatever? You can't even see the guy that goes in there first. You don't even know if he made it down safely. So you're he literally just goes and he's gone. I'm what the fuck? He's not screaming, so I think he's okay. So yeah, I was there was another couple up there, and one of the guys went first, and then I went, and it was super fun. It was, once you start, you're
Best slide
oh,
ever.
I got this. It was so much fun. And the best part was knowing that something that took you, you're skipping a 4-hour hike.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
just
yes.
sliding right down. It took 20 minutes. So you cover so much ground so quickly. Got down to the last water source coming up the climb. Got water, ate, recovered. We dropped 2,000 feet in a few hours, so Ari was starting to feel better. And then after that, it was chilling. It was we actually surprisingly crushed the hike down. We're kind of half jogging because we were just stoked, and I just felt the lower you went, the better you felt.
Oh yeah.
We did end up hiking back in the dark for a while, and we got back. We left at 9 p.m. and we got back at 9 p.m. the following day. So complete 24-hour hike.
Dang.
Got to the car, pretty much collapsed in the back seat, and then just curled up into a ball. Yeah, it was great.
Wow. Mount Whitney summiter Chris Johnson, everyone.
Class of 2019.
Class of 2019. Just here with my cactus friend, and that was part 1 of this 3-part interview with Chris Johnson. So please look at the links below the description to find the other 2 parts, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this interview. Thank you. Also, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks.